Greetings and bienvenue, Midnight Crew. Thank you for returning to this broadcast. And welcome to new viewers joining us for the first time. If you like a video, then feel free to subscribe.
Red pill me on extraterrestrials. Any and all information will be appreciated.
Be alien. Have fast travel abilities. See blue shit far, far away. No mining the rich asteroids and planets near us. Let's mess them up instead. Clearly they have something we and our closest celestial bodies don't. I mean, does anyone see how idiotic this is? Heck, with that kind of technology, it would be infinitely easier to terraform Mars or settle on another uninhabited planet instead. TBH, all this alien invasion fears is a byproduct on how shitty, materialistic, and scared of its own shadow the human race is. We are still monkeys in shoes.
We were a colony. We got hit with a relativistic weapon in the shape of the Younger Dryas, and were considered lost as an outpost. Maybe Earth was to be a garden world, space Disney, or a space sandals resort. Then once we got hit, the few survivors were too hard to get to and too few to care about. So they left for things to get settled, then forgot about us, till someone stumbled on us in a stroke of random luck. I still think Earth was terraformed, at least slightly. It's why we survived something that nasty.
Looking at Mars, it seems it stopped being habitable about the same time as Earth became sustainable. Technically, we could have originated from there, but there's no way to know. I don't believe we originated here either. I think we were planted or evolved technologically previously and blew ourselves to the Stone Ages. Who knows at what iteration of progress we are at now? Personally, I think aliens are silent because we're fucked in the head as a species. Literally any expansion of ours comes with a human and environmental price. We're very quick to dehumanize our own kind just because they were born somewhere else or with different features. We're still bickering between ourselves. What do you think aliens would think of that? If I were them, seeing how humanity is quick to fuck up their own kind, why would I expect any less or worse?
They are terrified of us. We survived as a species, a calamity that should have wiped Earth of all life. We might have some hellacious PTSD as a species from it, but not even that put us down for the count. We went landrace human and bred back to baseline hard case, because that's what it took to survive through hell. It's as if the off-worlders are those little scrawny 5'4" effeminate hipsters with the punch. Anyone who disagrees with me shirts when they look like they were starved skeletons. And the Earthmen are the big burly 6'4", 275 pounds of muscle, bare of a man that is covered in tattoos, muscles, and rage.
That only suggests resilience, not intelligence. I think that's a strong word for something which would be technologically superior. Are you scared right now of the cannibal tribes that are out there and would serve your head on a platter? You're aware they are out there. You're aware they are dangerous and need to stay away, but not terrified. That's a very specific image to apply to the whole of humanity. My point still stands. If we as a species can't resolve to achieve a level of balance and harmony, as well as a good code of universal ethics that prevents us from stepping on each other, why would an alien which clearly looks different expect anything better? I don't know about you, but I'd rather not see friendly aliens come here, be friendly, and my other fellow humans start alien hate groups. People still do bad shit and they don't even need reasons. That was my point.
The thing is, they know we are just as capable mentally, however untrained that we are compared to them. But the thought of smart and strong and resilient conditions that would kill them is what terrifies them. I have the feeling that they see us all as savages with bones through our noses. Just because they are pig ignorant doesn't mean they won't throw your ass in a stew pot for looking at them funny. Charlie Hall wrote about the tall aliens constantly overreacting and acting like they were in a pen with a wild animal that could snap at any time and eat them. They see us as the big Viking, biker, or cowboy from Hell Monsters.
I know it will get lost in the noise here, but I saw a UFO with a friend now almost 7 years back. We both saw it extremely clearly right before it was truly dark. A small red light was on its side as it spinned in silence. Typical black flying saucer. One of the most frustrating things about this whole community and the entire story is that this is the only piece of evidence I have that I know to be true. Flying saucers exist, that's it. I have no proof or knowledge who was on it or why. But the fact that it was flying over a decently populated town during a busy weekend night makes me believe it was not human, because I cannot fathom why a human government would willingly put these crafts over a decently populated area during a weekend summer night. I can, however, accept that aliens may have goals, objectives, and methods that stretch beyond my imagination, and this act could be completely rational for them. But then I have to wonder why they are here. Why have they not made themselves known? If there is an agreement without a government, why do they continuously show themselves? A lot of theories, especially any that involve biology or human DNA, are immediately thrown out because that's just now how life works. The idea that aliens even have DNA that's remotely similar to ours just shows me that the poster person who said that has no idea what they're talking about and has no concept of how evolution or astrobiology works. Observing us before our destruction? Why not end it earlier before we reach AGI and begin to have advanced defense mechanisms? Why take the risk? Spiritual reasons? Do they have their own beliefs that they cannot interfere with other life? I completely understand how so much bullshit gets out there because we continuously try to extrapolate from just a single piece of information. And I wish more people were willing to say, I know this is true, and that's all. I have no idea what this could mean in the grand scheme.
Haven't read the rest of the thread. Just wanted to say I've honest to God seen a UFO. It was one of those upright spinning diamond ones. This must have been about 7 to 8 years ago now. I live in Omaha and had snuck outside to the back deck like I did most weeknights when I still lived at home for a smoke. I always watched the skies while out there and always kept looking for weird shit. I loved pretending satellites were UFOs or very blatant stars that were always in the same place watching me. One night, one of those stars got a lot brighter as I watched, and then it started moving to the north, which had never happened before. And then it started moving faster than a normal aircraft would. And then it passed in front of a cloud, and I realized it was really close, maybe only a few miles away. I could see the green glint off of some of the polygonal sides. Lights were the same, but they stayed stationary as the craft was rotating. It circled around and got blocked by a portion of the roof. I ran around to the front yard to keep watching it, but it was gone. Coolest thing that ever happened to me? Anyone know what guys pilot those weird diamond crafts?
So the following is just an anon posting excerpts from that old KGB Alien Races book.
1. Aliens aren't demons. 2. Pleiadians are not on our side. 3. We were not created by alien races. 4. Reptilians and greys do not exist literally. 5. Aliens are predominantly humanoid or completely alienoid. 7. UFO sightings, when real, are not extraterrestrial in nature but governmental. 8. Anunnaki and MIB are not aliens either. 9. There are no aliens in Groom Lake. Overview and key concepts. Zixth, pronounced Shishid, also known as Zix's Prime, Aquilo, Niru, and Niru Zix, among other names, is a planet located in a star system somewhere in the Eridanus constellation group. It is known to be a giant frozen planet of ice and snow planet, about the size of Earth, or slightly smaller. For the most part, there's nothing notable about the surface, and it resembles Antarctica if it was one large planet. However, at the North Pole there is a giant thawed-out lake, and in the center is a giant crystal that goes all the way through the planet down to the core. This large crystal is known as the prism. It stands at about 400 feet tall, 121.92 meters, from the surface of the lake. It is rose red in color but is sometimes gray or clear, depending on how much energy it contains. The structure is the only source of power on the planet, used by all its inhabitants for various activities such as heating, healing, as a source of light and energy. Being an inhospitable frozen desert, the life forms on Zixth use the prism as a replacement for food. How this happens is still not exactly understood. The structure has been on the planet for millions of years, being from a distant and unknown origin, perhaps an older alien civilization. The planet itself is a terrestrial planet. It's covered in snow, and there are 2 oceans and many lakes which have frozen over entirely. The planet is also constantly racked with cold wind and blizzards and hailstorms, snowstorms. The planet has a single moon which has been named Sire. It's very far from its host star, however it is not entirely dark as it should be, as the prism provides enough light to make it visible from the surface. Beneath Zix's surface exists a cave and tunnel system that encompasses the entire planet. These tunnels are kept much warmer than the surface, though still cold by our standards, by geothermal vents, the core, the prism, and other heating methods. Some rooms in this system are hundreds of feet or even multiple miles tall and large. These tunnels are filled with hive-like structures. Some go near the frozen oceans and have means of harvesting water from them. They are filled with metal structures and strange alien technology, being the home of the planet's primary species, the Zixthians. Aside from the Zixthians, the other only known life form on Zixth are the Stithians, black flying humanoids from an unknown region that constantly surround the prism, keeping anyone or anything from getting too close to it. They are known to attack anyone that approaches it. According to Zixthian lore, the planet has seen several massive conflicts known as the Time Wars that were fought between the Stithians and several other races that have tried to control the prism. The most recent conflict was between the Stithians and Zixthians themselves, when the Hybrid Association attempted to secure a perimeter around the prism to gain full control of it. This resulted in a violent war that lasted thousands of years and caused large casualties on both sides. The prism. Not much is known about this structure. It is believed to be a source of immortality, which gives the life forms of Zixth eternal or at least prolonged life. It changes colors according to its energetic state. At night it usually shines rose red. During the day it is mostly clear or gray. This could be due to the Zixthians using it during the night for underground illumination, drawing more energy from the crystal. Zixthian believes the prism is a response for life itself on all the omniverse, and if destroyed, existence would quickly deteriorate. No conclusive research has been conducted due to the presence of the Stithians, which are highly aggressive and territorial. It is not known either how the crystal can be used for energy, this being a well-kept secret by the Hybrid Association. The structure is what puts Zixth on the map and attracts visitors to the planet, although the entrance of outsiders is heavily restricted by the HA and many times forbidden. There have been reports of visitors disappearing, although the HA usually explains them by blaming the Stithians. Rumors have formed claiming they conduct illegal scientific experiments on human subjects, and other rumors say the prism is actually an entrance to an underground base where these experiments might be taking place. The Zixthians, Aquiloans, or Neruev are the primary species that call Zixth home. They are the 13th tribe of Epsilon Eridani and the Voidic Coalition, but call themselves the 5th tribe, though this is not officially recognized. They are a race of sentient liquid metal that can think and move. The entire mass is its central nervous system. They typically arrange themselves into the shape of a large metal insect or a featureless winged humanoid. However, almost all of them have taken to living inside outer shells that they manage to build. These shells are what they typically are thought of as they almost never leave. The shells are cybernetic and hook up to their metal liquid form and are well built enough to seem 100% lifelike and realistic, though still within the realm of uncanny valley. These shells resemble humanoid children, varying from between the ages of 3 to 18. They are pale and androgynous, though they come in male and female forms. Their eyes are blue or brown depending on which caste they are from. Their hair is either brown, white, or blonde depending on what caste they are from. Brown hair and brown eyes belonging to the lowest class known as the brown hairs, or Dorian. Blue eyes and white hair belonging to the higher class known as the white hairs, or Nurian. And blonde hair or whitish blonde hair, and blue eyes belonging to the highest caste, the elite glory. They are themselves ageless and immortal, only dying if destroyed. The Zixthians are a hive mind species. However, they are led by the elite inner caste known as the Glory. Their thoughts are patrolled by a subset of Glory known as the Happy Thoughts Team, or Nirar Ribathu, being the Zixthian secret police. Now, Zixthian society is very strange. First and foremost, they are devoutly religious to their polytheistic religion. They worship the mythical settler of the planet and their race, a being called Isaac Ichabod Cain. his father Alstera, his mother Salem Kos, his son Mar Kahul, translation Mars Killer, the dark god Ragna and the dark goddess Leda, the prism itself which they believe to be the source of their immortality, a being called the Nameless Shaman of Colors, his successor Naoti and Naoti's son Zixpelekes, the cosmic god of keys, as well as many, many more. They worship them devoutly and zealously. They view the number 5 as sacred, as Isaac was the 5th operator, and they are part of a different group in the Voidic coalition, but insist and try to act as if they are the 5th. A rogue sect that lives on Earth is known as the Hybrid Association, and believes a man named Luke Foggo to be the reincarnation of Isaac. Secondly, they are extremely radical and racist and xenophobic. They believe themselves to be the superior race in all aspects and that the universe belongs to them by right. They wish to conquer it and genocide all species and replace them with Zixthian hybrids. They as a society are very communistic and oppressive, resembling North Korea 1984 and a certain youth group in the last century. They've taken a liking to the ash symbol because the original name of IIK was Ash, AE. They speak the languages Sarui and Suri. This is a reconstructed version of Sarui, a famous Voidic language and the one that the Zixthians speak. It has another dialect known as Suri, and Isaac is most proficient in it. Neas as e vemaruseo pereur iam Sarui, e siwos pianeatan zid roistru el nu aietu nik nu nearu evkius. Actisitaten buedes nasares asuri, el isak azak namneamiors arake. The Zixthians are in a never-ending war with another race known as the Stithians over the prism, and the equivalent to a Satan figure in the Zixthian religion is Kath, the supposed and mythical original king of the Stithians. They are currently very isolationist and remain on their planet. The Hybrid Association, originally the Children of Zixt, is a cult system in the vicarious collective lead by the Glory Isi, and claiming they are rules by Isaac Ichabod Cain. The system was formed with the gradual wave of discontent by the Voidic coalition, and a few other vicarious collective systems faced to the imposing threat of Clear Now 333, and the Hybrid Association being accepted as an insider system, while there were allegations that they were working with CN 333 to destroy the collective. The Hybrid Association started as a localized rebellion from an isolated group of Zixthians, of whom 3 had been stranded on Earth since 2014, along with an army of hybrids they created, being some of the most strong-willed and radical defenders of the supposed true values of Epsilon. They saw their way of life threatened by the coming of the White Sun Association and the possible threat of CN 333 during the war with that system. The Voidic coalition that until then had ignored most petitions from the Hybrid Association, for they considered them to be too extreme and radical, saw in them an opportunity for change, and their power was drastically increased. The Voidic coalition stands for what they call the True Alignment. Their intentions are to annihilate anyone who stands in the way of the true values of Epsilon, to return to the old ways and preserve the lore of their race. The Hybrid Association's plan is to repopulate the universe with immortal human Zixthian android hybrids, which is what most of their members are. The Hybrid Association supports cruelty, murder, torture, and has plans to destroy most of the universe and reset it to its pure form. The inner group of the Hybrid Association is known as the Children of Zixt. It is made up of the most powerful and advanced hybrid children that are closest to Master Isaac. How they call their leader, in reality just a false simulation of the Zixthians' glory. The Hybrid Association argues that Isaac Ichabod Cain is the 5th operator and legitimate ruler of all of Epsilon Eridanus, and subsequently the whole universe and beyond. Their claims are based on several excerpts from holy books and ancient scriptures, while the most respected researchers of the Vicarious Collective have dismissed these claims as nonsense. The HA continues to believe them. They also believe in the 5 synchronicity, being from the 5th tribe and their leader calling himself the 5th operator. For them, the number 5 represents immortality, which is very important in their system and considered to be the ultimate goal of all of humanity. The Hybrid Association worships the typical Zixthian pantheon. However, they believe Isaac has reincarnated as a man in Bermuda known as Luke. They also worship Abba Phos. They were formed from the group of hybrids and 3 pure Zixthians. The Zixthian glory scientist Glory Iasi Aserin, along with his brother Aeon Aserin and assistant Irian Ergi Atir, came to Earth around 2014 in order to test Icy's hybridization invasion process. However, they were gunned down by Bermuda and locked in a government quarantine zone. They managed to create many Zixthian human-android hybrids using the process who live inside the zone and wish to one day conquer Earth, but currently live inside and have formed a settlement simulating homeworld Zixthian society. The hybrids themselves are seen as abominations by the homeworld Zixthians, and AC and his accomplices are seen as race traitors and have been banished permanently. They retain their connection to the prism through what resembles pearl necklaces which each of them wear. Mandatory side note: the Time Wars referenced here are just an odd naming coincidence and have absolutely nothing to do with or any similarity to the ones from Doctor Who. Article on Stith script language by Epsilon researcher Shadrach. For what we know, it's a hand gesture finger action based on an unknown language. It can be spoken and written, because it's a time language speaking based on actual time, and it cannot be deciphered. Researchers haven't made much progress on it yet. For example, the word now sound changes every second. So if someone uses stith in English, the word now would change in the next millisecond to another sound. The language is thought to originate from the realm of the Scythians, flying humanoids with no face, not sure if you heard of them. Their society is based on action despite the consequences. What should be done must be done. They actually take the shape of the most intelligent forms of that planet, so that's why they appear human. The last reports indicate the Scythians are trying to find somebody, but the whole subject has fallen into oblivion since the time gaps got worse. My honest opinion? It is best not to open portals to that dimension. Arundel Estimor. Location names Arundel, Estimor, Aegir Prime, Epsilon Eridani B. Maximum level of civilization achieved, Type 2 on the Kardashev scale. About 5 billion years ago, the Epsilon Eridani system was formed. About 3.5 billion years ago, first forms of life appear on Arundel. About 300,000 years ago, Eero-Myran humans were sent to Arundel by unknown forces and procreated among themselves. Arundel, or Arundel, also known as Aegir Prime, and in the 982 universe as Epsilon Eridani B, was a planet located in the Epsilon Eridani solar system in the Eridanus constellation. The I-968 instance was the birthplace of the Order of Epsilon system and consequently, the 13 tribes of Eridanus. It was in Arundel that all human life in the Epsilon Eridani system, the Eridanus constellation, and in its surroundings first began. Arundel had a highly advanced civilization with most continents on the planet being composed of large ancient forests and the biggest cities, administration centers and other important constructs were located in the core, at the equator of the planet. Their cities were a perfect blend of nature and leading-edge technology, with zero resources wasted, no unemployment rate, poverty, sickness, or crime. Arundel has gone through a tribal era, monarchy, a republic, and finally an empire. This later rage was marked by severe oppression to freedom, fear, and violence, culminating in the absolute destruction of all life on Arundel. The planet was destroyed during the Arundel Oblivion event when the Void was set free in the Omniverse again, and its current location in the 982 universe has been replaced with the gas giant Epsilon Eridani B. Wickers. Idio Sothfall of Odin's Mo Ephetin. Archaic Wirange for, we drink from the blood of our enemies, an ancient Wyker war cry. Other names, the Order of the Wykers, Leaders of Men, Fireborn. Wykers were the tribal leaders in the first eras of human life on the planet Arundel, in a time where the Void was still very powerful in the whole Eridanus constellation and did not allow unity or civilization. The word Wyker comes from archaic Wirange, and it can be translated in various ways, the most popular being leader of men and chief. Some languages also translate it as fireborn. Wykers were evil in nature, feeding on the dark energies of the Void that gave them strength and magical abilities through human sacrifice. Most Wykers would become corrupted with prolonged exposure to voidic energies and develop a grotesque and terrifying demon-like appearance they used to intimidate their rivals. They ruled through power and fear and killed anyone who dared to defy them. Wikers worshipped the sun and the void. They saw their sun as the source of all life that kept them safe from danger and gave them glory in battle. The void was the source of their magic abilities that were mostly fire-based. Incineration rituals were common in Arendal, in which the Wiker of the defeated tribe would be burned alive in front of his own tribe and then eaten. The ashes of the fallen enemies were believed to be a very powerful ingredient that was used in potions and rituals. The defeated tribe would then be assimilated into the victorious tribe. The religion practiced by the Wikers was known as Farsiram. It involves the worship of the sun, the void, blood magic, and incineration rituals. Farsiram is an extremely violent religion that is heavily banned in the VC. Despite this, it is rumored that it is still practiced today, secretly, in some circles of the collective. Farsiram lasted for tens of thousands of years until the fall of Balthazar Asmodeus and the end of his reign. The Order of the Wikers only formed thousands of years after the Wikers. It was the foundation for the first monarchy in Arendal. The last Wiker of the monarchy era was Sabiafedasaf Insthari, third of his name. He was murdered at the age of 47 by the Aegir Liberation Forces, the rebel group that brought the First Republic to Arendal. The state of life in Arendal gradually shifted from absolute chaos to absolute perfection as the void would lose control in the Eridanus system. The early stages of civilization on Arendal were characterized by extreme violence, constant war, and natural disasters. The influence of the void was responsible for the existence of many demonic creatures and diseases that plagued the population of the planet. The Wikers of the tribes were in constant conflict with each other, and their only goal was to wipe out the other tribes and rule the entire globe. The word Wiker is now applied to operators of prominent systems, anthoseeded of the original Wikers. The Iromiran, roughly translated as pure people in Wireng, were the first species of humans to ever exist, native to the Eridanus constellation. Wirengai is the most well-known and spoken Voidic language, being the official language of the Vicarious Collective and the I-968 Eridanus constellation. The language has been voidically channeled to the I-982 by VC researchers. However, the currently spoken and written form is merely an approximation of the archaic Wirenga initially used by the Iromiran. It is known as Neo-Wirengjor Wirenj. The word Wirenge literally translates to language or communication. This version of the language has a structure that resembles the I-982-based languages a lot more than its archaic counterpart, notably English. The order of verbs, adjectives, and nouns is almost identical. Wireng has an alphabet with 21 letters. Each symbol has somewhat of a meaning. The Algrok, also called the Builders, are not from Sculptor and are not reptilians. They live up to 230 years old. They are one of the most ancient species, and they are experts at building spacefaring technology and cybernetics enhancements, and are driven by a hunt for further building resources. Their enhancements allowed them to become extremely physically strong, and their technology and shipbuilding, militarily strong, upon which they allied with the Galactic Federation of Energy. The Skyrlak originate from just outside Kepler 444 system long ago. They are orange-hued men with skin hard as rock and violent eyes. They reach 7 to 8 feet tall and can crush steel in their hand. They have great heat resistance. Their culture values strength and endurance. Their leaders are selected by blood sport and cycled through annually. Some believe them to be a creation of the Wikers. Most of their art involves curves and abstract shapes. Their language is called Fourth Refa. They organize in family units with 2 children, the daughter being third head of the house, with any extra sons being abandoned in the wilderness of their current planet, Skyras, many of whom survived and created the tribe of Sani. Brief and complete overview of Pleiadians. The Plejaran originate from a star system unknown to man called the Plejares, foremost a planet called Era. However, they formed a colonial expansionist empire called the Galactic Confederation of Gaiakon, or Light, under the now-deceased Lord Adragon Vakupe Palacha Ha-3, and quickly became one of the largest political factions in galactic history, and colonizing entire star systems such as the Pleiades. Physically, they tend to be about between 6 and 12 feet tall, but after long periods on Earth, they tend to shrink to around 6. The men tend to be androgynous. They most commonly are either very pale or very tan depending on what part they hail from, and they most commonly have blonde hair, but red and black can also be found. They have extremely advanced hearing. Culturally, they take a form of pacifism in which they do not directly attack anyone unless attacked first. They are known for underhanded tactics and often conquer not by brute force but by inserting their culture into a society and faking a crisis, then appearing as a Christ-like figure and being consensually given power. Consent is very important. Many New Age concepts that weren't stolen from Asia come from them. They're vegans, never raise their voices. Ran by a monarchy and a council who runs the GCGL. They are very spiritual, and spiritual leaders are some of the highest of the elite. They don't believe in monogamy, and relations are temporary and open with mutuality and no jealousy. Their religion heavily involves concepts related to light and energy. The Galactic Confederation has an unalienable and unconditional right to the intervention in all situations where the Galactic Codex is violated, regardless of the local laws. This section describes the policy of the light forces regarding occupied planets. The Confederation reserves the right to intervene in all areas, civilizations, planets, or solar systems where the Galactic Codex is violated. It has the right to do so regardless of the position of the local civilizations about this intervention. It always has the right to use all peaceful means of education and regulation. If the critical mass of the Galactic Codex principles is violated, it has the right to use military force. Each sentient being that has chosen to live and act against the principles of Galactic Codex and refuses to, or is not able to accept them now, and balance the consequences of the past actions will be taken to the Central Sun, restructured into the basic elemental essence, and begin a new cycle of evolution afresh. When defeated, beings that belong to the forces of darkness are given the opportunity to accept the Galactic Codex, do the best they can to correct the mistakes they made, and to live positively afterwards. If they accept, they are forgiven and join the Confederation. If they are unable or unwilling to accept, they are taken to the Central Sun. Their personalities and soul essences are restructured with the electric fire, and their divine spark begin a new cycle of evolution. Section 4.1. Each sentient being has an unalienable and unconditional right of calling upon the Galactic Confederation in need, and the Galactic Confederation has the right to assist, regardless of local laws. Section 4.2. The Galactic Confederation has an unalienable and unconditional right to the implementation of the Galactic Codex and of conquering the areas of Galactic Codex violation with military force if necessary.
The universe is a dark forest. Every civilization is an armed hunter stalking through the trees like a ghost, gently pushing aside branches that block the path and trying to tread without sound. Even breathing is done with care. The hunter has to be careful because everywhere in the forest are stealthy hunters like him. If he finds another life, another hunter, angel or a demon, a delicate infant or tottering old man, a fairy or a demigod, there's only one thing he can do: open fire and eliminate them. 1. All life desires to stay alive. 2. There is no way to know if other life forms can or will destroy you if given a chance. 3. The safest option for any species is to annihilate any other life forms they discover before they have a chance to do the same. All smart species, all the survivors know this. This is why the sky is so quiet. The loud ones are quickly extinguished. The only way to survive in this forest is to live in silence and in the dark. And we have just lit a fucking bonfire.
I hope that you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. If you enjoyed tonight's story, then please subscribe to the channel, as more green texts will appear daily. A new broadcast will appear when the clock strikes midnight Central Time.